Chapter Chicks, and I'm here today doing a book review over The Short Second Life of Bree by Stephenie Meyer. This is an Eclipse novella, and it is book 3.5 in the Twilight Saga. It was published June 5th, 2010 by Little Brown & Company. It has 178 pages in the U.S. hardback edition, and I give this book an average rating. Now, I just want to say that you should not be reading or watching this review unless you have read Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse, because you will be spoiled for those books if you read this book or watch this review. Basically, what this book is about is a young girl named Bree. She has recently been turned into a newborn vampire, and she's a part of this little group of newborn vampires, and somebody is turning all of these people and they don't know why. Bree's main focus throughout her new life has been getting blood, because that's what vampires eat, getting in before sunrise, and not catching all the other newborns' attention, because for some reason these newborn vampires are incredibly violent, and all the time they're killing each other off just because one will say something that will irk the other one. So she is trying very hard to not attract their attention. Now, one night Bree goes on a hunting trip, and she meets a fellow newborn that's in a part of the group named Diego. And at first, she's really very reluctant about talking to him and getting to know him because, like I said, if you attract the attention of these other newborns, odds are they'll rip your throat out and you'll die. And Bree is such a tiny little girl that she stands no chance against the other muscular, masculine vampires. So she very reluctantly finds a friend in Diego, and together they kind of bounce back and forth at each other and start to ask each other questions that they never really would have considered themselves about who their mysterious creator is, because they don't know who actually created them. They only know her sidekick, and that is Riley. And if you've read the third book, Eclipse, then you know who Riley is. So it's really interesting to see this side. So basically, this book is about her trying to figure out who their creator is, trying to figure out what's right from wrong, and trying to figure out what she was created for. So it's pretty good. It's a very, very cute novel, and I didn't think that I would really like it as much as I did, just because you know how it's going to end, and I feel like that would kind of suck to know that your favorite characters are going to have this horrific ending. But while you're reading it, you're still hoping and rooting that this changes. It's kind of like when you read Romeo and Juliet, if you ever have. I know when I read it, I felt this strange sense that this time when I was reading it, it was going to change, and she was going to wake up just in time for him to not kill himself. So you kind of get that feel with this one, even though you know exactly how it's going to end. You know that it can't be any different because it's already been written in stone, but you still want it to change, and unfortunately it doesn't. One thing that this book really made me think about was I hate how much people are picking on Stephenie Meyer and the Twilight Saga. The Twilight Saga is amazing. This book is just as good, and Stephenie Meyer is a great writer, I feel like. This book, the series transformed so many non-readers into readers just because of how good it was. And maybe the writing is a bit more simple than some of the other novels, but that's her way of writing, and that's what transformed people. That's what made people think, oh, maybe YA isn't so bad. Because I know I wouldn't have picked up YA if I hadn't read the Twilight Saga. I mean, I was still a reader, but I was reading classics. I thought all of YA was just chick lit nonsense, and it's not. And it makes me so mad that because it got so popular, that a lot of people are putting it down. And it's not that, I can understand, if you legitimately didn't like it, that's fine. And if for some reason you don't like it now, I mean, maybe you became a more broad reader, and that's why you don't like it now, but don't dog it, because it's just being judgmental, I feel like. I don't know, I just don't like when people don't like it just because of how popular it is, or because of the movies. Because the movies are awful. I mean, they're getting better, but they started out awful. And the fact that people judge the books based on those movies really irks me. And I don't think that Stephenie Meyer's writing is terrible. First of all, a lot of what people have to say about her writing is an editing issue. not a writing issue. As I said before, I feel like an editor's job is to catch the mistakes, because that's their job, that's what they're there for. The author's job is to get you involved in the world and get you involved in the characters, and Meyer has no problem doing that. She never has. And when I read The Host, I felt the same way. When I read the Twilight Saga, I felt the same way. And when I read this, I still felt transformed in that way. I still felt that I was pulled into the novel and genuinely care for the characters. And that is something that only good authors can do, and she does it. So I hate when people get on her for editing issues. Now back to the book. It definitely made me miss the Cullens, because as you know, they do show a little cameo in the end, and it really made me want to go back and read the Twilight Saga, just because, like I said, the writing is so good to me. It's a magical way of writing, and I love the characters, and I just wish that I could read Midnight Sun. I wish it'd come out with it, because Edward is just so dreamy. And you know what? People say Edward's bad excuse for bad influence on girls for getting boyfriends, and they want to spend all their time focusing on their boyfriend and all this stuff. No, I don't really feel that way. I have to disagree with that one, because, I mean, I have people who had really crappy boyfriends in high school, and they were not being treated right by their boyfriend, and then they read the Twilight Saga, and they're like, you know what, I deserve better than this. And so I thought that was, that's my take on it, on that issue. One thing I did love about this book was you got to see the dark side of vampires. When reading from Bella's perspective, mainly you only get to see the Cullens and their vegetarian way of life. So it was really cool to see the vampires who actually really do only think of human as snacks. And oddly enough, even when she's thinking of all this stuff about humans and how they're snacks and all this stuff, you think about how you still feel for her, you still appreciate her character even though she would eat you in real life. So I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a good, it shows, again, the writing is good because you care about the characters no matter what. I would love to have seen more from Bree. Unfortunately, that's not possible. So I am Jessica with Chapter 6. This is my review and my little Twilight Saga rant on the short second life of Bree Tanner, and that was by Stephenie Meyer, and this chapter was for you.